Hello and welcome to Newsweek South Asia, your one-stop destination for in-depth analysis of security challenges, regional conflicts and the evolving threat of terrorism. Let's take a look at the headlines first. UK-India counter-terror alliance strengthens as Pakistan's proxy war in Kashmir faces global condemnation. More money for the military and little relief for the people. Pakistan's new budget sparks outrage across the nation. And democracy on delay. Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus draws fire for pushing Bangladesh elections to 2026. In a strong diplomatic signal against Pakistan-sponsored terrorism, India and the United Kingdom have deepened their counter-terrorism cooperation. The development comes in the wake of brutal attack in Jammu and Kashmir that New Delhi has attributed to Pakistan-backed terrorist outfit. British Foreign Secretary David Lammy's recent visit to India marked a significant moment in global solidarity against cross-border terror. As Pakistan continues to deny its role, the world is increasingly seeing through its duplicity. A report.
Diplomacy and development are no longer enough when terror crosses borders. As global alliances shift to address modern threats, nations are drawing red lines more clearly than ever. In this context, India and the United Kingdom are stepping up their partnership, placing counter-terrorism at the heart of the bilateral ties. Recently, British Foreign Secretary David Lammy, during his high-level visit to New Delhi, reaffirmed the United Kingdom's support for India in the fight against terrorism. His remarks came against the backdrop of recent flare-ups in Jammu and Kashmir, where 26 Indian nationals were killed in April in an attack carried out by Pakistan-backed terrorists.
We want the situation to be maintained, but of course we recognise fragility, particularly in the backdrop of terrorism. Terrorism designed to destabilise India, attack tourists going about their daily lives. And we are keen to continue to work with our Indian partners on counter-terrorism measures. Our systems are in discussion and talking to one another, and my visit was important, I think, to lay out a range of things that we can do together over this next period.
India has made it unequivocally clear that peace talks cannot be held under the shadow of terror. In response to the Pahalgam attack in Jammu and Kashmir, India launched precision strikes targeting terror camps across the border, exposing Pakistan's continuing shelter to anti-India terror groups. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar used the occasion to send a direct message to the international community. He welcomed the UK's strong condemnation of the Pahalgam attack and stressed India's uncompromising stand on terrorism.
I think your visit at this time gives us an occasion to assess our comprehensive strategic partnership, which I believe has strengthened across all sectors in recent times. We've had very regular high-level political and official interactions. But at the outset, let me thank the government of the United Kingdom for the strong condemnation of the barbaric terrorist attack in Pahalgam in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, and for your solidarity and support to India in the fight against terrorism. We practice a policy of zero tolerance against terrorism and expect our partners to understand it. And we will never countenance perpetrators of evil being put at par with its victims.
This statement was seen as a pointed rebuttal to some Western narratives that attempted to draw false equivalence between India's defensive actions and Pakistan's patronage of terror. By reiterating that perpetrators cannot be equated with victims, India has made it clear that it will not allow Pakistan to hijack the discourse through diplomatic theatrics. Lammy also met Prime Minister Narendra Modi to discuss a roadmap for future cooperation, not only on security but also on trade and technology. He confirmed that UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer will soon visit India to seal the much-anticipated free trade agreement, marking a new phase in bilateral ties.
I was able to discuss with Prime Minister Modi and Dr. Jaishankar the acts that we can do together to deal with terrorism, and those discussions will continue.
India also reportedly briefed the British side on the use of Pakistan's soil for launching attacks, financing terrorist networks and radicalizing youth in Kashmir. Despite international pressure, Islamabad has failed to dismantle these terror infrastructures or prosecute known terror masterminds operating openly within its borders.
Pakistan is once again choosing guns over bread. In its latest federal budget, the Shehbaz Sharif-led government has significantly ramped up defense spending, even as inflation bites, debt soars, and millions of citizens continue to struggle with rising living costs. While Islamabad celebrates its so-called military victories and pledges loyalty to the IMF, the average Pakistani finds little relief. Newsweek South Asia takes a closer look at how Pakistan's budget for 2025-26 exposes its broken priorities and deepening crisis.
Pakistan's latest federal budget has once again revealed the state's skewed priorities. At a time when the nation faces economic turmoil and public hardship, the government has chosen to significantly hike defense spending. In a move that reflects its growing military obsession, the Pakistani government has ramped up defense spending by a staggering 20% for the fiscal year 2025-26. Pakistan's Finance Minister Mohammad Aurangzeb, while presenting the federal budget on June 10, confirmed the allocation of 2.55 trillion rupees, that is $9 billion to the defense sector.
मुल्क की दफा हुकूमत की अहम तरीन तरजीह है। इस कौमी फर्ज के लिए 2,550 अरब रुपए फराहम किया जाएंगे।
The announcement comes just weeks after a deadly terrorist attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam that was linked to Pakistan-based terror outfit Lashkar-e-Taiba. Instead of investing in development, Islamabad appears to be celebrating the conflict by bolstering its military machinery, even as it slashes overall federal expenditure by 7%, setting it at 17.57 trillion rupees. While a modest 10% increase in salaries for government employees and 7% hike in pensions have been proposed, citizens and experts alike say that the relief measures are cosmetic in the face of rampant inflation and utility taxes.
जनाब स्पीकर, अब मैं रिलीफ इक़दामात की तरफ आता हूँ। तनख्वाहदार तबके के लिए टैक्स में कमी के साथ साथ हुकूमत ने अपनी माली मुश्किलात के बावजूद सरकारी मुलाजमीन के लिए रिलीफ इक़दामात का फैसला किया है, जिनकी तफसील ये है। वफाकी हुकूमत के तमाम मुलाजमीन ग्रेड 1 ता 22 की तनख्वाह में 10% इजाफा तजवीज़ किया जा रहा है। रिटायर्ड मुलाजमीन की पेंशन में 7% इजाफे की तजवीज़ है।
बजट में सबसे ज़्यादा रखा है सलामती के लिए, पाकिस्तान का आर्मी के लिए वो बहुत ज़्यादा रखा है। डिफेंस के लिए ना बहुत ज़्यादा बजट रखा है। उसको थोड़ा कम कर लेता था, उस पर कम करके चलो दूसरा उसमें दे देता। जो 15% होता, 20% समझ में आता था, 10% तो मैं कहता हूँ ये पहली दफ़ा है कि 32 साल का मैंने तजुर्बा में ये तमाशा है।
The economic crisis is deepening. Pakistan's total debt has ballooned to 76,000 billion rupees, with over 51,500 billion rupees borrowed domestically and the rest from external sources. Inflation is projected at 7.5%, with GDP growth optimistically pegged at 4.2%, though the current year saw only 2.7% growth. As the government touts tax relief for salaried classes, ordinary citizens remain unconvinced. High electricity bills, unchecked inflation, and a tax-heavy system have left many struggling.
असल जो है वो केसी के जो है उसके अंदर जो टैक्स वगैरह आ रहा है तो वो जो है ना मतलब उसकी वजह से जो महंगाई फिर उसी जगह पे खड़ी रह जाती है। तो कंज्यूमर आइटम पे तो कमी हो रही है, लेकिन केसी के अंदर जो टैक्स लगाए गए हैं, जो केसी के जो रेट जो बढ़ रहे हैं जो पर यूनिट, तो वो जो है जो सारा जो बेनिफिट था वो वहाँ पे सारा डाइल्यूट हो जाता है और वो जो है असल आवाम तक जो है उसका जो है बेनिफिट नहीं मिल पाता। तो हमारी हुकूमत से रिक्वेस्ट है कि केसी के अंदर जो टैक्स लगाए जा रहे हैं उसमें कुछ कमी करें और साथ ही साथ जो पर यूनिट जो चार्जेस है, जो रेट है उसका केसी का, उसको भी कम किया जाए। तो ये है कि आवाम पे काफ़ी इससे रिलीफ मिलेगा।
Even business leaders have little hope. Many see the budget as a product of strict International Monetary Fund conditions, one that favors fiscal discipline over public welfare. Critics say the budget fails where it matters most, in boosting exports and stimulating real economic growth.
आज का जो बजट है वो अवाम दोस्त बजट नहीं है। ये आज का जो बजट है ये ताजिर दोस्त बजट नहीं है। इसके अंदर जो क्लॉजेज रखे गए हैं, शिकें रखी गई हैं, जो अब तक जो हमने पढ़ा है वो इतनी हमें मायूसी हुई है, यूँ कह सकता हूँ मैं, क्योंकि इसके अंदर एक्सपोर्ट के लिए कुछ नहीं रखा गया है। जो इस मुल्क में तरक्की की एक ही रास्ता है और वो एक्सपोर्ट।
With skyrocketing debt, rising defense costs, and negligible support for struggling households and exporters, Pakistan's latest budget appears more like a political stunt than an economic strategy. While Islamabad continues to play the victim card on global platforms, its real victims remain its own citizens, crushed under policies that prioritize weapons over welfare.
In Bangladesh, the much lauded Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus is facing growing criticism for allegedly turning his interim administration into an unelected regime with no exit plan. After nearly 10 months in power, Yunus has now announced that national elections will be held in April 2026. But the timeline has only deepened suspicions and his motives. Major political forces, including the Bangladesh National Party and even the military, have rejected the delay, calling instead for immediate inclusive polls. As opposition grows and tensions rise, critics warn that Yunus' administration may be steering the country toward authoritarianism. Muhammad Yunus, the interim head of Bangladesh's government, promised a quick return to democracy when he assumed power following the ouster of Sheikh Hasina's administration. But nearly a year later, Yunus has been accused of delaying elections, centralizing power and excluding key political players, casting doubt on his credibility and intentions. The latest announcement setting national elections for April 2026 has triggered a political storm. Far from calming critiques, the move has united strange bedfellows, the Bangladesh National Party and the army, in their demand for elections to be held by the end of this year.
Muhammad Yunus, ever since being appointed as an interim advisor, he laid out a laundry list of reforms before elections could be held. His list of reforms included constitutional reforms, electoral reforms, financial reforms, media reforms, and then election would be held. If you go by that laundry list, it may take, maybe dozens of years before Bangladesh can hold an election. But there is pressure, political pressure from the opposition party, which is now the dominant political force perhaps in Bangladesh. They want to have an election and be in power. But Yunus is postponing it for his own reasons. Even now when he says it's April, I think all stakeholders in Bangladesh will not be happy because many people in Bangladesh, I think, want elections immediate for a democracy in their own sense, whatever it be. So Yunus, I think, will run into more difficulties by announcing again that elections are delayed up till April, whereas people were saying, in the army is saying by December. So there is some uphill challenges for Yunus ahead.
Yunus argues that reforms are essential before elections can be held, citing the need for constitutional, electoral, and judicial overhauls. 6 commissions have reportedly submitted their reports, but the so-called national consensus remains elusive, especially with the Awami League banned from the process. The exclusion of the Awami League, with its leadership in exile and cadres under pressure at home, has raised alarm bells across the political spectrum. The party that once led the nation to independence now finds itself erased from official narratives, even from the currency notes and historical texts.
It is one of the proof the how fascist this government is. You know that Bangladesh Awami League, it is the creator of Bangladesh actually. It lead the independence movement, democratic movement, movement against the military rulers, and you know that other than the 15 years of military rule, more than 80% times Bangladesh Awami League is elected by the people of Bangladesh. So it represented the majority people of the Bangladesh. You know that Bangladesh experienced economic transformation by this political party. Our every sort of, whether it is human index, millennium development goals, sustainable development goals, per capita income, GDP, reserve, you know that the youth employment, job security, industrialization. In every cases, Bangladesh Awami League played the role, and Bangladesh Awami League, you know that it believes in the core values of the liberation war, which is, you know, that the democracy, which is a fight against discrimination, secularism, liberal democratic values. These are the principles of Bangladesh Awami League. And by banning this party, this government is unmasking itself that this is actually a fascist regime.
According to Saddam Hussein, president of the Bangladesh Student League, the resurgence of fundamentalist networks in Bangladesh is a growing threat that cannot be ignored. He warns that these groups, with suspected covert ties to international terrorist organizations, view the Awami League as a key obstacle to their radical agenda. Saddam also points to an increasingly alarming trend, where the space for dissent is shrinking, civil liberties are being curtailed, and opposition voices are systematically targeted. These developments, he says, signal a dangerous slide toward political repression and democratic backsliding in the country.
Election is not priority of this government actually. This is just a state-sponsored drama. Just by you know that they will use this for their own purpose actually, because they banned Bangladesh Awami League. Bangladesh holds all sort of fascist characteristics. There is no chance of the people have their own choices. So the election is a first. I think the election is. If you are saying about election, you are banning another political parties, and if you see the current situation in Bangladesh, as per the report of Human Rights Watch, more than 350,000 people has been arrested and took to the prison in last 10 months. In last month, in every day, more than 1,500 people got arrested and had been taken to the prison. So this is the actual scenario, and I think Bangladesh, the people of Bangladesh, you know, they are waiting for the people's representative. They are waiting for the constitutional rule. They are waiting for the democratic representative to govern the country. So if so, you know that considering the current context, if you are saying that you are going to do elections, and it is without Awami League, it is actually an omelette without egg, or you are actually staging the famous drama of Shakespeare, Hamlet, without the Prince of Denmark actually.
Meanwhile, the Jamaat-e-Islami, once condemned for siding with the Pakistani army during the 1971 genocide, is quietly making a comeback. Stripped of its political registration in 2013, the party now finds itself resuscitated under the Yunus administration, with key convictions overturned and electoral ambitions reignited. Even more troubling is the trial of Sheikh Hasina, set to be conducted in absentia. She faces charges ranging from corruption to crimes against humanity in a court system previously derided for conducting politicized trials. The irony is unmistakable. The very court used to convict Jamaat leaders under her rule is now prosecuting her under Yunus. As the April 2026 deadline approaches, questions remain unanswered. Will free and fair elections truly take place? And is the current path leading Bangladesh closer to democracy or deeper into division? Facing years of neglect and unfulfilled assurances, teachers in Pakistan-occupied Gilgit-Baltistan have taken to the streets to demand their rightful dues. Persistent delays in salaries, lack of job security, and broken promises have left these educators disillusioned and frustrated. Despite being vital to the region's progress, their pleas remain unheard by Islamabad. These protests are not just about financial grievances. They echo a deeper demand for respect, fairness, and accountability. With tensions on the rise, the need for concrete action becomes even more pressing. Here's a closer look at the situation. Government school teachers in Pakistan-occupied Gilgit-Baltistan staged a protest outside the office of the Director General of Education, demanding long overdue promotions and resolution of other pressing issues. Despite years of service, these educators remain stuck without career growth or proper recognition. The protesters slam the authorities for their continued apathy and failure to address legitimate concerns. Their voices echo a growing frustration across the region as demands for justice, fair treatment, and educational reforms gain momentum in the occupied territory.
एक मिसकंसेप्शन और चीज़ें गलत फैल रही हैं, इसके लिए ज़रूरी है कि हम वजाहत करें इसमें डिपार्टमेंट का क्या मौक़िफ़ है। टेबल टॉक के लिए मैं ऑफर करता हूं, अगर मुझसे गिला है, कोई गलतफहमी है तो वो मैं दूर करूंगा। मेरे डायरेक्टर मेरे साथ मौजूद होंगे, इवन डीडीज भी मेरे साथ मौजूद होंगे। यहाँ से चीज़ें तय करेंगे, वो हमें रास्ता दिखा दें और रास्ते पर डुएबल रास्ता जिसमें पोस्टें पहले अपग्रेड होनी ज़रूरी है और उसके बाद प्रमोशन होगी। तो इस पर हम तैयार हैं बिस्मिल्लाह। लेकिन यह है कि पहले प्रमोशन करो तो पोस्टें हो नहीं हो तो मैं तनख्वाह कहां से दूंगा? पोस्ट होगी तो मैं तनख्वाह दूंगा ना किसी को। तो हम इनके साथ बात करने के लिए तैयार हैं और ये अगर हमसे बात नहीं करना चाहते हैं और हमें ब्लेम करते हैं तो हम अपना मामला अल्लाह पर छोड़ते हैं। बाकी इन्होंने जो अच्छा किया बुरा किया ये खुद भुगत लेंगे।
The ongoing protest by teachers in Pakistan-occupied Gilgit-Baltistan is not just about promotions. It's a cry against the systematic degradation of education in the region. Harsh government policies, chronic underfunding, and bureaucratic neglect have left schools without resources and teachers without motivation. Students suffer the most as their right to quality education is repeatedly compromised. Locals blame Islamabad for turning a blind eye to POGB's educational crisis, deepening the sense of marginalization and abandonment in this strategically vital yet ignored region.
डिपार्टमेंट है, मुख्तलिफ किस्म की कैटेगरीज बनाए गए हैं, मुख्तलिफ किस्म के कानून लागू हैं जिसकी वजह से एहसास महरूमी के शिकार। और तीसरी बात ये हमें इंतहाई दुख के साथ कहना पड़ता है कि हमने अपने खून पसीने से जिन कलियों की आबियारी करके इस गुलशन को महकना चाह रहे थे, आज हम क्लासेस का बायकाट करके अपने तलबा को हुसूल इल्म के मतलाशी तलबा को इल्म से दूर रख रहे हैं। यकीनन इसका हमें इंतहाई ज़्यादा दुख है कि कुछ तालिब इल्म आए उस्ताद को कहे कि उस्ताद जी हमें पढ़ाए और उस्ताद क्लासरूम का बायकाट करे। ये इंतहाई हम भी शर्मिंदा हैं, लेकिन हमारे साथ नारवा सलूक रखा गया है।
The protest in Pakistan-occupied Gilgit-Baltistan marks a breaking point, not just for teachers, but for an entire generation of students caught in the crossfire of neglect. As educators demand basic rights, students are left without guidance, resources, or hope. This crisis is not isolated. It reflects decades of systematic discrimination by Islamabad against the region. And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Newsweek South Asia. We'll be back next week with more news, views, and analysis from the subcontinent. Meanwhile, do keep writing to us at nwsa@anin.com. This is Shivangi Mishra, signing off on behalf of the entire production team of Newsweek South Asia. Goodbye and take care.